Okay, in today's video, I'm going to be working with Elvis. Elvis is a rescue that came from a local shelter, and I'm working with him on leash pressure. This is the introduction to leash pressure. This is probably my fourth session that I've had with this dog. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to break down exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so you guys can have a really good understanding of how you can start implementing some of these techniques on your own dogs. Now, keep in mind, I'm not going to be using any verbal commands during this exercise or during this training session. All I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing him a physical cue that's going to get him to perform a behavior. Once he performs that behavior, I'm going to mark it with either a continuation marker or a terminal marker, and then I'm going to reward him. So you're going to see he's going to start picking up on this information pretty quickly. Dogs learn first through physical communication before they learn verbal commands. So if you want to teach your dog any sort of verbal command, they have to know the physical cue that can get them to perform that behavior before you start to introduce the verbal command. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so what I'm doing first, every dog has what's known as a classical opposition reflex, meaning you pull one way on the leash, they're gonna hunker back into position the other way. We teach the dogs to go with the pressure on the leash. So what I do is I start to apply pressure. If the dog resists, I continue to apply a little bit of pressure until the dog decides to go with that pressure. Once they move in the direction of the pressure, it is immediately turned off and they are given a reward. So I always like to start in a straight line. I'm simply going back and forth, and the moment he chooses to follow the leash, I use my terminal marker and then I reward him. And you're gonna see that he's going to start to understand what I expect him to perform in a very short time frame. Free. Good boy. Free. Very nice. Free. Good. Free. Very good. Free. Excellent. Okay, so on that last one, I transitioned into the sit. So the cue while using leash pressure for a sit is to slightly lift up on the leash. The dog will feel a little bit of tension from the collar as they're pulling up on the leash. Now that pressure needs to maintain until the dog goes into the sit command. The moment the dog goes into the sit, we release the pressure, we mark the behavior, and we deliver a reward. Now you can learn more about the markers and some of the basics for the science of dog training in my manual that is available on Amazon. I'll make sure I put a link in the description below. Okay, so I'm going to lift up again on the leash. Once he goes into the sit, once he decides to start going into the sit, that's when we release the pressure. And again, I'm using my terminal marker in this exercise right now. Free. Very nice. Very, very nice. Free. Good boy. Now I'm also incorporating verbal praise. Now verbal praise is going to be different from a marker. A marker lets a dog know they did the desired behavior correctly and they are going to be given a reward. A verbal praise is letting them know they're doing a good job, they're on the right track. It's the same as if your boss told you, hey, great work today, everybody keep it up. A marker, so my yes and my free in these training videos, also known as a bridge or a condition reinforcer, would be equivalent to money or a paycheck for a human, because that predicts a primary. A primary is going to be food, toy, or affection. A condition reinforcer, in this case the markers, simply predicts the primary. Free. Very good. Free. Okay, now I'm using it to guide him onto the climb bed. This exercise, I call it a climb. Some people call it a place. But what I'm doing is I'm using the leash to guide him onto the bed. Once he's on the bed, again, I use my marker and then I deliver a reward. Very good. Free. Excellent. Nice work. Free. Very nice. I like it. Good job, buddy. Good job. Free. Very good. Free. Good. Free. Good job. Free. Very good. Free. Good. Very nice. Okay, so now this is going to be the tougher one. Okay, what I'm doing there is first I introduce the pressure. Now dogs learn through patterns. They're very good at pattern recognition. You probably already noticed this with your own dog. If you have a certain routine that you do every day, they start to learn the routine and they expect you to do certain things before you even do it. So what I'm doing right here is I apply the leash pressure, and having a dog go into a down from using leash pressure can be difficult for most dogs. So what I like to do is I first apply the pressure. Then, after the dog feels the pressure, I use food and I lure the dog into the position while maintaining the pressure on the leash. Once a dog goes into the position, just like any other position with a leash pressure, I turn the pressure off, I mark the behavior, and I deliver the reward to the dog. So he needed a little bit of extra help.
Very good boy, very good.
And there we mark and reward.
Very nice.
And since it's still the early stages, I am rewarding him for almost every single behavior. This is continual reinforcement. Okay, so here we go with the pressure. You see the pressure came first, and then the food came to help. Try your best not to pair the pressure with the food. You want the pressure to predict the luring, then the position, so then what ends up happening is the dog feels the pressure, or they see you're about to apply the pressure, and they go into the position before anything else takes place. And that's ideally what we want. I also like to lift my leg up slowly when I'm using my foot to apply that leash pressure. You don't want to do it quickly because it could startle dogs, but I also want to give them time to see what it is that I'm doing. I want them to be able to figure out this pattern, and what happens is it'll turn into, I just start to lift my leg and the dog will go into the down position before even having to apply any pressure on the leash. So it's good to do these movements nice and slow in the beginning to help the dogs figure out what it is that you're doing. So again, I help him with the food.
Pretty good.
And releasing the pressure once he completes the task.
That's my good boy. That's my good boy, Elvis.
So this dog was in the shelter for over a year, and he spent most of his days jumping up constantly in his run that he had, which gave him very strong back legs. Now, this is something you want to keep in mind if you do have a dog that has very strong back legs, or if maybe you have adopted a retired racing dog. It's more difficult for these dogs to go into the down position, so often because of their muscles, they will go into that side down position where they sit down on their hip. And he ends up doing that in this video because his muscles are so tight from spending so much time jumping in the kennels at the shelter.
Pretty good.
And again, once he's in the position, I allow him to immediately jump up. We're not worried about retaining or maintaining rather a position or the stay. All we're doing is we're trying to teach him the cue. You go into the down, the pressure's released, and you will receive a reward. So right here, he's thinking about it, and I'm not too worried with him moving around. There we go. I released the pressure and reward, so that was one where he laid on his right hip. So that's going to be, again, common with some dogs that have really tight muscles.
Nice work. Very good. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Very good. See if we can do that again. Good job, buddy.
Also notice when you're implementing leash pressure, you shouldn't be pulling so hard that you're physically pulling the dog into the position. It should be a bit of tension that they feel that only gets turned off when they go into the desired position. You should not be physically pulling them into the position. Same with the sit. You shouldn't be pulling up so hard that it's choking the dog or it's lifting their paws off the ground. It's just enough for them to feel, again, this is a cue to get them to do a certain behavior. When we're implementing negative reinforcement, it should not be seen as a punishment to a dog. It should be seen as a cue. So you got a little too excited there. And when the dogs start to go into the position using just the leash pressure, I give them a bunch of praise because I want them to know that that was what the behavior is we were going for, and I want them to want to repeat that behavior in the future. So lots of praise when they start to do it on their own without the help of that food or the luring. And that's what he's starting to do. He doesn't need the food so much at this point as far as guiding him into the down. He's thinking about it, Boom.
Free.
Goes into the down
Very
position.
nice.
Mark and reward.
Good job. Good boy. Very good.
Again, plenty of praise. You want the training to be fun for the dog. You want them to enjoy it, so then they want to train again in the future.
Free. Very nice. Bring it back. Free. Good.
Again, just waiting them out. When you first introduce leash pressure, you have to be patient.
Free. Very good. Good job, buddy. Good boy. Very good.
And again, when they are walking back and forth, when you're trying to implement the leash pressure, I'm not too worried about that. Often dogs will try certain things to see if that turns off the leash pressure. And once they realize the only option is to do the desired behavior, then that becomes their default and they don't try anything else. So I don't worry about the dog moving back and forth or trying different ways to remove that leash pressure. That's just the dog problem solving.
Free. Very nice. Good job. Yes.
Okay, and on that last one, when I said free, he didn't jump up to get the reward. So if you notice, I slightly started to lift up on the leash. I started to walk my hand up the leash and I started to walk towards the dog. And often this is a simple cue to get the dog to come up into a sit from the down position.
Free. Very good.
And again, still not worried about any commands, just communicating with him by implementing a physical cue.
All right, here we go. Last one. Last one, buddy.
And he started to get distracted. The neighbor's dogs were barking, so I figured it'd be a good time to end the session, get one more nice good win, and that would be good until the next session.
Free. Good boy.
And there we go.
All done. All done.
All right, I hope you guys like this video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Please be sure to click that like button. Let your friends know about the page. I'm going to be posting more videos on how to train your dog, and I'm going to include more series just like this where I'm working with a dog and I'm breaking down exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it to get the desired results that you want. All right, thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next video.
Good boy. Free. Very nice. Free. Good. Free. Very good. Free. Excellent. Free. Very nice. Very, very nice. Free. Good boy. Free. Very good. Free. Very good. Free. Excellent. Nice work. Free. Very nice. I like it. Good job, buddy. Good job. Free. Very good. Free. Good. Free. Good job. Free. Very good. Free. Good. Free. Good job. Chew your food, buddy. Free. Good. Good boy. Free. Very nice. Free. Yay! Good boy. That one was very good. That was very good. Yeah. Nice work, my little man. Nice work. Very, very, very good. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Free. Very good. See if we can do that again. Good job, buddy. You can do it. You can do it, my little man. Yay! Nice. Good boy. Good boy. Very good. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah. Nice job. Who's my good boy? Who's my good boy? This is my good boy. This is my good boy, Elvis. This is a good boy. Nice work, buddy. All right, don't be too excited. Yes. Very nice. Try it again. You can do it, buddy. Come on. Free. Very nice. Good job. Good boy. Very good. Good boy. Free. Good. Free. Very nice. Very good. Free. Good. Free. Very good. Good job, buddy. Good boy. Very good. Free. Very nice. Good job. Let's do a couple more and that'll be good. Yes. Free. Very nice. Good job. Yes. Good. Free. Very good. Yes. Come on, baby. Yes. Good. All right, here we go. Last one. Last one, buddy. Free. Good boy. Elvis.